What up, Bengals fans, and welcome into the Locked On Bengals podcast. I'm James Rapien. You're going to hear Jake Liscow coming up in just a minute. Just wanted to give you a playoff special, a little bonus content, as Jake would say. But a quick reminder to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us wherever you get your podcast. We are free, we are daily, and we are coming at you. There are no days off this week. We're coming at you Saturday after the game. Obviously, this is kind of like a Friday evening, Saturday special for you. And in this special, you're going to hear from Bengals special teams coordinator Darrin Simmons on Joe Burrow, or Joey franchise, Joe Burrow. And you're also going to hear from Ted Nguyen of The Athletic, covers the Raiders, does a lot of great film stuff. And Jake caught up with him earlier this week. So you'll get the X's and O's part, but I'm going to give you the hype part because the Bengals, we know it. They're looking for their first playoff win in 31 years. I feel the buzz. I sense the buzz. I understand it. And man, I was thinking back, this is the healthiest the Bengals have been going into the playoffs, dating back to the 2013 season. And this is just off of memory. I'm not looking at specific injuries, but you look at like quarterback, wide receivers, all of those things, like main positions. 14, there were injuries galore. Green didn't play. It was Rex Burkhead at receiver against the Colts. Then 15, you had Andy Dalton go down. And, well, you haven't been back since. So the Bengals really, really healthy. But this is the most excited I've seen this fan base since 2005. And that's my favorite Bengals team of all time. That was the team that I had, because I had watched, I'm a 90s kid. So I had watched probably from 97, where I actually recall Bengals games, to 2005, and I hadn't seen much winning. And they just took off, boom, like a rocket. And that team was a lot of fun to watch. Well, this team, the reason I think it's comparable is the belief in the quarterback, the belief in the talent around him, and in the culture, and the way the defense is played. Like that 05 defense, they forced a lot of turnovers, but they weren't getting a ton of stops. 2015 defense was really damn good, but they didn't have their quarterback going into the postseason. And yeah, there were some that believed A.J. McCarron was the savior and had it. But now that we've seen what it is with Joe Burrow, I think there's a clear difference. And speaking of it, there's one Bengals coach that was around for Carson Palmer, that was around for Andy Dalton, that was around for A.J. McCarron, and that was around and is still around for Joey Burrow. And his name is Darrin Simmons, the Bengals special teams coordinator. And, I was on a conference call or Zoom call with him earlier this week, and I didn't have anything planned out to ask him, and I'm just kind of listening. And that's usually what I do in these news conferences, is very rarely do I have something planned out or an agenda. I go with the feel, listen to what they say, figure out if there's something interesting I can ask. There are times I go entire news conferences, I don't ask a player a question. I'm not just going to ask you, what color is the sky, just to ask. Some people do that. I don't do that. And in media in general, I'm not saying here in Cincinnati. My colleagues, my Cincinnati reporters, they're perfect, every single one of them. So no slander there. That being said, I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask Darrin Simmons about the differences, what stands out, if anything surprised him about Joe Burrow, since he's seen Palmer. He's seen a first overall pick. He's seen a second rounder exceed expectations and go to the playoffs. So does this feel different? Is it different? Here's my question, and here's what Darrin Simmons had to say. You're going to love this about Joey franchise.
Darrin, you were here for a young Carson, here for a young Andy, and obviously saw what they did. What has stood out to you about Joe Burrow, and has anything surprised you?
No, and nothing surprised me, honestly. I remember sitting in his combine interview when we did that a couple years ago, and there was no question in my mind that it was the single best combine interview I'd ever sat in on. I mean, the recall and the competitiveness that he showed in that 15-minute meeting was off the charts. We looked at video plays, just throughout the course of the season. He had no background as to what plays they were, but he could tell you exactly what portion of the game it was, exactly what situation in the game it was. Hey, this is in the third quarter. I think we're, down by 3. I think this is a third down play. Here's what's going to happen. And his recall was incredible. And not to say that those other two guys, Carson and Andy, couldn't, but this guy's just a little different. Joe doesn't say much. Carson was not a real vocal guy either. And Andy really wasn't either, quite honestly. But this guy, it's just whatever it is, he has it, and you feel it in the room, and you feel it when he's out there on the field. He just has a quiet confidence because he's been there, he's done that, he's proven all this before. He did it at LSU, and there's no doubt in my mind he'll do it again. He'll do it again in his NFL career here too. But there's a very different feel with him out there. I'm damn glad he's on our team.
That's good stuff. Whatever it is, he has it. And I believe it. I buy it. Why wouldn't you believe it? These Bengals believe it. You probably believe it. That's why you think the Bengals have a shot at making a run here. And look, whether or not they make a run, the future should be bright. But I've said it this week multiple times. This is not a house money game. This is a game where you have the dagger, and I said it on our Friday show with Joe Goodberry. Drive the dagger straight through the heart of those playoff demons. And speaking of Joe Goodberry, go back and listen to our episode with him, our episode with Bengal Sands, our crossover with your boy Q. I mean, we've been loaded all week, and it's been a fun and busy week. So make sure if you're road tripping for the game, you're flying it, just download the episodes, listen wherever you get your podcasts, or subscribe on YouTube and watch them so you can see my little dance. I didn't dance at the beginning of this episode. This is the bonus, but we'll get a little jig in right here. But without further ado, it's time to talk X's and O's. It's Jake Liscow. It's Ted Nguyen. It's next right here on Locked On Bengals. But first, I have to tell you about OnlineGambling.com because we're all looking for an edge. All of us. We all want an edge. We all want to figure out how we can make more money in anything we do, and we like to win. And OnlineGambling.com can help you do it. Look, they've asked me who I think is going to make the Super Bowl, who's going to be playing at SoFi Stadium. And I think Brady Burrow sounds pretty damn good. So that's what I'm going with. And it doesn't matter if you're a novice, if you're an expert, OnlineGambling.com. They have tips. They have help for you to make sure you're making the best decisions when you're gambling. Because let's be honest here, sports gambling, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people are doing it, but you want to be as educated as possible when you're wagering. So make sure you visit onlinegambling.com/NFL for all of the latest gambling news, tips, and info to beat the odds and give you the edge throughout the postseason. Again, it's simple. onlinegambling.com/NFL to make the most of this year's playoffs. I also have to tell you about Get Upside, the free app. It's going to save you money at the gas pump every time you fill up. All you have to do is take your cell phone, your smart device, whether it's an iPhone, Android, it's in the App Store, it's in Google Play, download Get Upside. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get up to 25 cents off per gallon every time you fill up. And right now with promo code Touchdown, you're going to get a bonus 25 cents off your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents off per gallon on your first fill up. That's free money. It's easy money. You can use it and take it to onlinegambling.com and turn it into more money. All right. So all you have to do is download the app, Get Upside right now, and use promo code Touchdown to get up to 50 cents off per gallon on your first fill up. And you can take that money and deposit it in your bank account, PayPal, turn it into an Amazon gift card, whatever you choose. Again, make sure you use Get Upside, promo code Touchdown.
We're now joined by the Athletics' Ted Nguyen. Know you're in the Bay Area, Ted. A lot of excitement about Las Vegas making this playoff run. Wanted to talk a little bit of scheme with you. And I wanted to start actually with Gus Bradley's defense. Cover 3 defense predominantly. That's the bread and butter. And he likes to send his front four, and the front four, to their credit, have been very successful, led by Max Crosby. And I expect Max Crosby to reprise his performance against a backup Bengals right tackle. But really curious about first the secondary matchups, the cover 3 stuff, and the general approach from Gus Bradley went pretty well the first time around. It's one of the most recent games from Joe Burrow that wasn't excellent by my eye, by my evaluation. So what do you think it was about the approach in that first game that worked so well? And with the Bengals offense getting more heavy in the pass game, do you think that it will require any changes the second time around?
Yeah, well, I think the basis of Bradley's defense is to not give up any explosive passes. So they're, sitting back in their cover 3 zone, not allowing Chase and Higgins and those guys to get behind them, and just keeping everything in front of them. And obviously just letting the 4-man pass rush go to work. And if it's one thing that could say, really help out the Raiders is if the defensive line has another very dominating performance. And obviously there's going to be some attention on Crosby with chip blocks and help and that sort of thing. So I think the real key matchup is going to be Ngakoue rushing off the left side. I thought he played decently against the Bengals in Week 11, and he's going to need another strong performance. And and one thing the Raiders got much better at from that game against the Bengals is they've been able to defend the run much better. And one of the reasons is they took Corey Littleton off the field and put Divine Diablo, the rookie, in, and him between him and Corey Littleton, not Corey Littleton, between him and I'm blanking on Denzel Perriman, they've been able to do a really good job of defending the run, and Darius Philon has been disruptive, but he's hurt too, so that's a key injury. And Jonathan Hankins is probably the Raiders' best interior run defender, and he's questionable to play. He didn't practice today, so that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in that run matchup. The Raiders like to send their defensive linemen upfield, a very penetrating attacking style that our film and expert that we have on Locked On Bengals called a Rob Marinelli style of defensive line play. What, if anything, slows down the pass rush if the Bengals run the ball well again, which really one of the last games the Bengals ran the ball well was against the Raiders, and Joe Mixon seems to love playing against the Raiders. Does that affect the pass rush significantly, or do they maintain their we're going to get upfield and we're going to try to make plays in the backfield approach regardless of the opponent's run game?
Yeah, I think being a single gap team and being a max fit team, meaning you have that 8th guy in a box with the strong safety, because that's just kind of nature of cover 3. You are able to get upfield a lot. So teams have been able to run on the Raiders, and they still get a pretty decent pass rush. But obviously, if you are able to get into less 3rd and long situations, and you don't have to hold on to the ball as long, and you could hit those quick passes, then you're going to negate the pass rush, and you're going to start frustrating those pass rushers. So if the Bengals are able to run the ball and get into 3rd and 4 situations, 3rd and 6 situations, that kind of deal, then the pass rush will get negated. And I know one thing that has really helped the Bengals offense is Burrow being able to extend plays, and he's really become sort of a maestro in that when the Bengals offense has really gotten going. So, but I wonder how much he's willing to extend plays against this pair of speed rushers that get upfield quickly.
Yeah, it's something that I think he's probably very willing to do. Now, will that be to the Bengals' benefit or detriment is something that we'll find out on Saturday, because the Bengals have played, I've talked about this on the podcast, a gauntlet of tight ends and a gauntlet of edge rushers. And we'll maybe talk about Darren Waller, the tight end, in a little bit, but TJ Watt twice a year, Myles Garrett twice a year. They got both Bosas this year. So they've seen everybody. And it'll be another test for really an offensive line that has struggled, even with Joe Burrow playing well. I think that's more Burrow than it is pass protection, and he is creating, but it's also a lot of quick game. It's a lot of Joe Burrow processing really well. You can't fool him twice. He's better the second time he sees you. So that's why I kind of wonder, and maybe this is just an impossible question, what, if any, wrinkles you think Gus Bradley might throw in the second time around?
Yeah, he's been a little more willing to blitz, and he just in key situations he'll call a blitz, and it's just funny because teams don't really expect him to blitz, and when he does, they get like so surprised he blitzes, and you'll see free rushers come in.
Yeah,
and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do think that he's blitzed a little bit more. But I don't know if he would want to do it against Burrow, because Burrow's able to get rid of the ball so quickly and find his hot receivers and that sort of deal. So maybe the Raiders play a little more tight man-to-man in some situations, just to kind of really get tight on those quick routes. But yeah, I mean, Bradley doesn't really switch up what he does too much. He is who he is, and even in these huge games, he doesn't he'll adjust certain things here or there, but he's not gonna be a guy that will just surprise you with an entirely new scheme that you haven't seen before.
Yeah, a couple of things there that reminds me of. One, Wink Martindale just being so stubborn and sticking to the way that he likes to call his defense in both Bengals games this year. And then Steve Spagnuolo the next week kind of taking a page out of Martindale's book and kind of playing a lot of man, a lot of press. And when Joe Burrow sees you pressed up on Jamar Chase and you're single high, the ball's going to Jamar Chase on the sideline.
Yeah.
And he's taking that shot 99% of the time. It'll be interesting to see if we do see more press this week, because it does look like they play off quite a bit. I think that's one of the reasons that a guy like Brandon Faison, who the Bengals went after the first time around, was able to stay on top of some of those vertical passes. And to the Raiders' credit, they did a great job of keeping the ball in front of them. But let's talk a little bit about Derek Carr. He has gotten the Raiders to the playoffs. He's played well enough for the Raiders to win 4 games in a row. It looks like maybe in the last couple of weeks, he's had a little bit of turnover luck on his side, maybe not, but I'm curious from your point of view, what level is Derek Carr playing at right now? And with Josh Jacobs playing a little bit better, how much does it matter in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he didn't have his best game against the Chargers, even though they were able to pull out a win in that game. I thought the defense made some timely plays. They were able to run the ball pretty well against the Chargers front. But Carr let a bunch of opportunities go. He just kind of missed passes in that game. But yeah, I think he overall in the Raiders win streak, he has played better. But I think one of the keys to him playing better is the Raiders being able to run the ball much better than they have all season. It really started against the Bengals in the second half when Jacobs had his huge fumble right before the half ended, and they just came out with this attitude that they're going to simplify the run scheme and run hard. And I think simplifying the run scheme really helped out this young offensive line. Rewatching that Bengals game, they were they tried a few funky things that just didn't really work out in their favor. So yeah, I think just being able to run the ball and use more play action against the Bengals. They only dropped back with 6 play action plays in that game. They'll run a lot more than that in this game. It's one of the things that really helped out their offense and helped out Derek Carr as well.
Is that something that has seen an uptick in frequency? Maybe it was you that tweeted this, but I saw a tweet that was that indicated Derek Carr has been really good in play action, but has used play action like the least in the NFL amongst frequent starters.
Yeah, that's I think I was the one who tweeted that, but yeah, I mean, it's been something that I've talked about for a long time. The Raiders need to use more play action because Carr is so good at it, and they have used more, and it's part of the reason why the offense is playing better. One thing that I was curious about that I want to ask you was the Bengals played very little man coverage against the Raiders in Week 11, and the only other team they really played not much man coverage against also was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those were the 2 lowest games as far as man coverage frequency. So I was wondering, if you knew kind of the thought process behind why they decided to play more zone against the Raiders that week.
I don't think I could tell you. Lou Anarumo honestly keeps me on my toes. I think that he does some different things every week. I think they are very matchup dependent, and it could be something to do with the way they thought Derek Carr processed. I just think back to that game, and it seemed like he was checking the ball down the entire game.
Yeah.
A lot of underneath stuff, didn't take shots when they were there. I mean, there was some vertical stuff to Darren Waller, I think, and that seemed to be the entire vertical game in that first game. I don't recall Brian Edwards or Zay Jones really getting a shot downfield. Maybe there was 1 or 2 that I'm not remembering, but could be something like that, right? It could be a Darren Waller effect. We don't think that you can go underneath the whole game and beat us. And so we're going to try to keep the ball in front of us and maybe try to trick him. And I know Eli Apple got him with a cover 2 a little bit coming off for that pick. And got Patrick Mahomes with the same thing. He just dropped the pick in week 17. Do you think that is that why you think, did that contribute to Carr checking it down so much? Or is there something that's changed in Carr since that game that he's seeing the field a little better? Or what do you think contributed there?
Well, yeah, I think part of why it was part of the game plan to run all these like little wide receiver screens and bubble screens, and I didn't really like that part of their game plan. I thought, and they were doing that a lot in the beginning of the season because they just did not trust the offensive line at all. So they're trying to try to get the ball out of Carr's hands and perimeter and trying to create kind of a pseudo run game that way. But since then, they've kind of stopped doing that, and I think they trust their offensive line to go downfield a little bit more, which is why Carr has been more aggressive as of late. So the line has improved a bit. And another reason I think, I don't think they have anybody to really match up with Darren Waller. The few times they did play man, I think Darren Waller got him on an option route. So I don't think they have the right bodies to match up with Waller.
No, and they've had a really mixed bag of success against tight ends this year. This is the gauntlet of tight ends, right? George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Waller twice, Andrews twice, Hawkinson, Noah Fant, like all these early round guys are the class of the NFL at tight end. But I agree with you. I think I mentioned this on our show as well. Like the last time these teams played, they put Cheeto Awuzie on Waller for a snap. I think Waller beat him straight up, and that's the Bengals' best corner. And he's a physical, good corner, but they tried to bracket him a few times. So I'm going to be interested to see if the Bengals give Waller more attention, and that frees up some of these perimeter options. And Carr ready to chuck it, right? He's ready to let Brian Edwards have that Moss moment that he has from time to time, or just put it up for Zay Jones. Let's talk about the Raiders offensive line. This is an area that is a similar weakness, I think, for both teams, where there's a solid to good left tackle, Colton Miller, a good left tackle, and a bunch of questions. Besides that, although I would say Quentin Spain's been playing mostly really well at left guard for the Bengals. Fun matchup, Hendrickson Miller on the left side of the Raiders offensive line. I thought Hendrickson got the best of Miller the first time around, although there were some splash plays that probably make me feel that way. But I'm really interested in, with the advent of Josh Jacobs running the ball better, how do you think this interior offensive line for the Raiders matches up with DJ Reader with the two gapping ability and just his size and strength and technical ability?
Yeah, I think Simpson has been playing much better, especially in a run game. I thought the Raiders got some decent movement on the Bengals interior. There were some RPOs where Carr didn't hand off the ball. But again, I think the rushing total at the end of the game kind of was because of the score. They couldn't run the ball much. They were all playing catch up, and there were some negative plays. So I think that's one thing the Raiders have cleaned up a bit. They'll still see him is where they'll just let somebody go, and they'll end up with a -4 gain or whatever. But I think the Raiders offensive line can get some movement on this Bengals front. They just need to really hone in on their assignments and not have those kind of brain fart moments and get those negative plays.
Overall, would you say this is kind of a game script game for the Raiders? We've talked about with the Bengals this year with their pass protection issues that there are a lot of game script games where if they get behind, it could get ugly. Is this something where you see if the Raiders get behind earlier, they're not able to establish Josh Jacobs, that's not the way they want it to go? Or what do you think the ideal kind of style of game or archetype of game, like defensive slugfest versus run it down your throats kind of game would be for the Raiders in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think they would like the game to go a lot like the Chargers game, where they're able to hit an occasional big play and move the ball on the ground decently, get into their play action, and that's been kind of their formula to on their win streak. They've been able to run the ball with some efficiency. You'll still see those negative plays, but even the coaches talked about it. They want to be able to run the ball to get their play action game going. And that's just a component of their offense that has been much improved since the first time they played.
On the other hand, what would be the thing that should scare the Raiders the most in this matchup? Is it as simple as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have a good connection, or is there something deeper to you that might go the Bengals' way in this matchup?
I think it's going to be the run defense. I mean, I think they can't, just the style of defense they play, it's hard to get explosive plays on them. And just with their pass rush, it's going to be hard for Burrow to hold on to the ball, to get the ball deep. But I just think that if they can't stop the run, that's just going to create all sorts of problems for them. And they've been better at stopping a run, but Joe Mixon's a hell of a back, so we'll see what they're able to do, especially with Darius Philon, who was a key part of why the run defense was so good. Tore his patella tendon in that Chargers game.
Yeah, and the Bengals missed him the first time around as well. So we'll see how that plays out. Ted, really appreciate the time and the input and information about the Raiders. This has been great.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Good stuff there from Ted Nguyen and Jake Liscow. All right, that's it. You're seeing this face for the last time, at least on Locked On Bengals, hearing this voice for the last time on Locked On Bengals until the post-game show on Saturday evening. Boy, oh boy, I hope I'm dancing. I hope Jake's wooing. And until then, I'm James Rapien for Jake Liscow. Thank you so much for listening to the Locked On Bengals podcast.